Welcome back, you guys. We're going to begin today's tutorial by taking the number 4 across the top of the head, and I'm using the newest blade from Caliber, and I find it a lot easier in dealing with bulk, and we're going to be doing a full review on that really soon. And let's just go forward and talk about what we're doing in today's tutorial. So I got to get rid of all this bulk. You notice that his hair has gotten really long in between the last haircut, and I'm not really able to see what I'm doing. So I just want to make sure that I remove all that bulk in the skin line area mainly, so that when I put in my skin line, I can be more accurate. Now, I've seen a lot of students and a lot of people try to put a skin line into this amount of bulk, and of course you can do it, but you're going to wind up reworking yourself. You're probably not going to do it accurately, and in order to save time, you just want to take this little bit of what might be considered as a waste of time to actually save you more time in the end. Now, I'm going to be doing another time-saving video like really soon, because I was watching my last one, and I noticed that there's actually a couple things that I forgot to mention. So I think that that's an important topic for everybody. Like, how do we save time? How do we get our time down? Because if you're taking 45 minutes to an hour to do a skin fade, there's definitely some places you can improve. And most of the time, I'm sure you already kind of know that you're going back and double working yourself, but there's probably some areas you can improve. So I'm going to put my skin line in with the 5-0, and the reason why I do that is because I want it to be a short jump from skin to 5-0, meaning that the length of hair that's there to cut it down to skin from the 5-0 is very small. It's a small jump. Now, if I was to put in my skin line with a 3-0, let's say your regular clipper, well, you're going to be jumping from 3 zeros to skin, and that's going to be a lot more difficult to blend when we get to the electric shaver process, which is right here. So with your electric shaver, this Bronze Series 9 is the absolute easiest to probably do this with, because it doesn't cut quite as close as the Wall 5-star, but it does cut close enough. And when you go back over with the Wall 5-star, you really don't get much. But the fact that it doesn't cut so much closer means that it's a very easy tool to blend with. So as you notice, when I come up to this line, I'm going to start flicking away. I want to make sure that I don't press too hard when I approach that 5-0 line that I just put in, and I want this blend to be smooth. I want like a seamless transition between skin and my 5-0 length. If you jam this into the line, you're going to wind up having trouble. You're going to wind up causing yourself to overwork, because you're going to have to repeat the previous step again with either a trimmer or a 5-star electric shaver. You're going to have to repeat the process with either a trimmer or a 5-0. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to overwork yourself. And when you come up to the line, you also might try going with the grain, just like I do in this step. I go with the grain a few times. If you're struggling to get that line out, that's another technique that you can use to remove it. And that's kind of the real reason why I do this. This is all designed to kind of help me save time, because some people do run it right into the line, and some people do go back and do that other step. So look, you'd be doing that same step twice. It's not worth doing. So we're going to begin with the open taper, and I have the Caliber 50 cal. And for anybody out there who's looking for a clipper that's just a blending machine, I mean, I don't think this really gets much better. 4-hour runtime, really great blade now, really easy to do. Even the previous one was awesome, but this has just made it even easier. I mean, if you look at what impact that open taper had on my 5-0 line, you could see that my blend is in some ways already pretty good. I just have a very minimal amount of cleanup to do. So I went in and I set my guideline about 1 inch. You just see me click the clipper down once, and you're gonna see me come in sort of on an angle, making sure I stay on the head, and I'm doing what I call the crisscross method, where if you notice my blade is kind of tipped this way, and then as I come back the opposite way, I may tip it the opposite way, just to try to find against the grain as best as possible. And I'm just moving back and forth, and you're gonna find that this really helps to knock this skin line out pretty quickly. Again, don't leave the head too much. Don't try to, you want to stay anchored on the head. You don't want to be sitting here trying to flick and flip and do all these things that you see other barbers doing, because the clippers are set up for you to succeed. So just use those lengths and use that to your advantage, because that's the reason why we even have a lever. That's the reason why we even have guards, because of course we could flip a fade in with just about anything if you had the correct wrist movements. But the consistency over time is what's going to suffer, and your work is going to suffer as a result of that. So if you want to have good consistency, try to reduce the amount of flicking you're doing. Okay, we're going to skip the half and circle back this is kind of the other part of the technique that I try to teach a lot, because I just find that this is easy, it's seamless, and it works with most people. Of course, if you've seen my low fade video, I do things a little bit different in that, and you guys can go check that previous one out. It's doing pretty good. 3 weeks, it got 20,000 views, which is pretty good for me. I'm going to begin the exact same process with this number 1 though. I began with it open, and then I'll click the clipper down 1 click at a time. This particular clipper has 5 clicks on it, so 1 click at a time, and stay just underneath where you were in that previous step. And again, try to go against the grain the best that you can, especially in this section. You can kind of see that his hair just juts forward at the top of the parietal ridge there. And I'm gonna have a little bit of cleanup to do. Now I've circled back to the half. After you've performed your number 1 step, you just go back to the half, and we're gonna begin with that open, and we're gonna begin closing that down. And I'm gonna put a design in this particular haircut, and I kind of sped that up just to kind of show you how this one went. But yeah, so once we've got this all clean, I wanted to make sure that I have a little bit of hair to do this with. I realize this is a pretty high fade. Some people might call this a military fade. I would actually probably make my military fade even higher than this if that person wanted that. But the nice thing about doing a blend like this is you can really stretch it out. So on the back of the head, this section here really, I think, illustrates what I do to remove the skin line pretty well. I just begin with it open. You have a little bit more room in the back, so why not work with it? So you can even make your guideline a little bit bigger now, and we're really going to stretch out that fade so we can get a really nice, clean, smooth, seamless blend. And I'm going to begin, after I've removed all that hair, I'm going to begin 1 click down, and you can kind of see the crisscross method in action again here. So I'm just kind of crisscrossing it back and forth, and I'm staying slightly lower than I was when I first made the line. Now I'm going to click it again, and I'm going to stay slightly lower than where I was when I made that last move, crisscrossing again. And you're going to really be able to see, like, before you move on to that next step, you really need to make sure that you've completed the previous step, and you're really going to be able to see how this performs. So I'm just clicking down to what I think is the 4th adjustment. I still have the 5th adjustment to go, and you can see that the entire thing is clean and done and smooth. Now, the problem is when you guys start to skip steps, you're going to get ahead of yourself. You're going to cause a whole lot of cleanup work. I must get this question in my inbox like almost every day. How do you do cleanup work at the end of your fade? Some people say, hey, I never really see you do that on your videos. And I do cleanup work, so I don't want to make you think that like I'm above it or anything like that. But the thing is, if you build your stuff on a strong foundation and you follow the process and you trust the process, you need to understand that if you are on step 5 and you haven't completed step 3, there's just no way for you to be successful, and all of your haircut is going to turn into a cleanup work. You don't want that to happen, then you need to follow your process. So I'm giving you guys a pretty good process here. It's pretty strong. It works with just about every person. So I'm just stressing to you guys, just make sure that when you do the skin line, make sure it's perfect. When you do the electric shaver portion, make sure that's perfect, because that could waste a lot of time when you got to go back and do things with trimmers and stuff like that. And then when you're taking out the skin line, make sure that's perfect. Now, when you do cleanup time, when you do like cleanup work, the appropriate time for doing cleanup work is to adjust for the curvature of a client's scalp. So let's say that you did follow all your steps and your client has a hollow, or generally an area behind the ears where the head kind of dips in. That's an appropriate area to have to do cleanup work, and it's more or less like texturizing, which means removing bulk without affecting length, and we're probably seeing a higher density of hair inside of those spots, and that's kind of why you'll always see sort of shadows in that area. And this is possible that if you're dealing with a client who's maybe overweight or whatever, they might be in the neck. So yeah, those kind of areas, it's normal and it's natural to have some kind of cleanup to do. So, you know, if you build your stuff on a strong foundation, there won't be so much cleanup work. So I'm just gonna go through, and like what I like to do with the designs is I kind of like to just like rough them out a little bit. I just rough them out a little bit. I go through a couple times with the trimmer, and I set that in, and then I'll go back through and I'll shave it. But the key kind of for me that I've found that works to help me come out with pretty good results every time is to just put your lines in almost like kind of easy, rough. Don't try to make them too perfect until you've kind of got the basic shape or the basic idea down. Then you can go back through and detail it, and then you can obviously go back through and shave it just to make it absolutely, you know, perfect and try to make it pop. But yeah, that's kind of my take on it. Like whenever I do designs, I try to do them every opportunity I can. I'm not, you know, saying that I'm the absolute best at doing designs or whatever, but I love doing it. I love pushing the envelope a little bit and just trying new things, because I've been cutting hair long enough where I really don't ever have to kind of think about what I'm doing, and that just makes me think, and it's more challenging. Thank you guys so much for checking this out. I appreciate you guys for watching, listening. If you get a chance, man, click that subscribe button and stick around, and we're going to be doing some more giveaways too, so I don't want you guys to miss out on that either. For now, it's Mr. Eddie Barber, and I'm out of here. I'll see you guys in another video. Peace.